Hey y'all, look at this. It's pea shelling time. Katie, you gonna shell some peas? Hey guys, welcome back to Roots Refuge Farm. So here on the front of this video, I have to tell you that our merch pre-orders are currently open. They've actually been open for like the last week and I keep forgetting to put it in a video. I actually put on one of our merch t-shirts today, so when I turned the camera on myself, I would have a reminder, for real. And I forgot until I turned the camera on myself. So my plan worked. So we have brought back some of our all-time favorite designs, and we heard a lot of your requests. So I wanted to just point out, whenever you go to the site for the merch pre-orders, all our stuff is listed at Be Unlimited. Unfortunately, right now we are dealing with having to put out some copyright or trademark type stuff claims, because there are some sites that are trying to sell our designs away from us. We're not getting any profit from that whatsoever. So Be Unlimited is the place where right now you can go find our merch shirts. I'll put a link down below. It's open as a pre-order for the next 10 days, and when that pre-order closes, all of those shirts will be printed and shipped. So actually, I'm wearing one from a previous release. The colors that are available right now, I don't have mine yet because I am also pre-ordering them. But we have brought in some women's cut tank tops, some V-necks. We have some zip down hoodies again. That's something that was requested. We've brought back the Turn Your Waiting Room into a Classroom design. That's something that has been very highly requested. And we also have some 100% cotton t-shirts. So the Comfort Colors t-shirts are the ones that are that. Anyway, I'll put the link so you can go check it out. I'm really excited about this launch because it's a lot of my most favorite designs that we have released. You know, this is a massive way that we're supported here on our channel and that we get to do what we do, is by selling merchandise like this. But also, it's actually just a really special and cool thing. We've heard so many cool stories from people who are wearing these designs, and they're out in public, they're going about their daily life, and really neat conversations get struck up between them and other people about gardening and sustainability because they're wearing something like this, and they get to explain, what does it mean real food comes dirty? You know, what does it mean turn your waiting room into a classroom? So I think that's really cool. Also, I love the stories of people who like become friends in the grocery store because they find out they're both Roots and Refuge fans based on their shirts. So thank you so much, as always, for being supportive in that way. Links down below. 10 days pre-order. Check it out. I showed the busy bees on this basil in another video, and I realized whenever I was editing that I didn't hold the camera still enough for you to really see them. So I needed to show them again. It is crazy how many bees are just swarming around this blossomed Thai basil. So today I just wanted to go around the garden and talk to you a little bit about what I'm harvesting right now. It's August, which is crazy. I feel like this season has just flown by. We're currently making the steps necessary to get our fall garden started, which some of that is preparing spaces by adding fresh compost, cleaning out what was previously in the garden, which unfortunately sometimes was still producing a little bit, but sometimes you have to choose to tear out a plant that is on the tail end of its production to start a plant, giving it enough time to get production in within the season. So we're getting the spaces cleaned out, fresh compost put in, just an inch or so to amend the area, give it some fresh nutrition, and then direct sowing things like squashes, summer squashes, cucumbers, beans. Here where I'm growing in South Carolina, we do have a nice long season, so we have plenty of time left here in August for those things to come to fruition. But we're also getting ready to start the fall gardening seeds, so the things like kale, cabbages, brassicas, and we're going to be starting those in pots so we can make sure that we give them plenty of water, and also underneath the shade cloth where we can hopefully give them cool enough conditions to thrive. But we still have a lot of things coming in, even though the season is coming to an end. So like we have tomato plants that are looking really crispy and rough. If you are growing tomatoes anywhere in the South, I imagine yours look the same if they're hanging on at all. We've got squashes succumbing to borers, like this mess here. The bitter melon has absolutely no problem with the weather. Look at that. That's pretty extraordinary, huh? The truth is I haven't done a whole lot with this because I am completely ignorant as to how to use it. I've got some different recipes that I'd like to try, but if you are experienced with bitter melon, please educate me. Comment if you've got links, give me some links, and we will experiment with these funky looking fruits. I mean, we have no shortage of them in all stages. But I thought it might be fun and helpful to kind of share with you guys what we're currently harvesting. So we've got eggplants of multiple varieties. Still actually getting quite a few tomatoes, which I will tell you, this is probably my first year ever in gardening to still have tomatoes at all into August. Usually my plants are just completely shot by now. And though these look a little puny, they're still producing, which is awesome. We have lots of herbs like basil. This plant really needs a haircut, so I'm probably going to be harvesting and hanging some herbs here soon. Just hanging them to dry. I'll just take these and tie them in bundles like this and hang them upside down. I usually do it by like a curtain rod in my house, nothing fancy. Let them get good and dry, and then crumble them up and put them in some bags. We're harvesting okra like crazy. Look at that beautiful blossom. Isn't that lovely? Okra blossoms are just among some of my favorite flowers. So okra is actually a relative of hibiscus. You can really see it in the flowers. And okra and hibiscus are also in the same family as marshmallow. And the mucilage in okra is what makes it so good for your gut. Okra is really good. So I'm like snacking on okra pretty regularly, just breaking them off and eating them raw here in the garden. And actually this will continue. These will end up being, right now they're taller than me, but it's because they're in these, you know, these beds are 2 feet tall. But this will eventually end up being like so tall, we're gonna need a ladder to harvest it. It'll keep going. That really takes off when it gets good and hot. So I've got another really large harvest of tomatoes that I'll probably bring in this afternoon that are out here. That's a pineapple tomato, looking really good. I've got several really big ones out here and several green ones that haven't quite started to turn yet, but once they do, we'll have another really large harvest. So a lot of these are gonna go to salsa, and I'm shocked. This is new for me to have tomatoes this late. I will tell you this second harvest has not been in as good shape as the earlier harvest was. I've had more blossom in rot with these. The plants just have had a little more like fussiness on them, but that's to be expected when it's this hot. You know, when you've got tomato plants that are still kicking late in the season, you end up with a lot of this. Let me show you. All right, so you have blossoms that are just falling off like this. I was trying to show you and it didn't let loose. Shriveling up and falling off. A few of these are actually setting fruit, which is shocking. That blossom drop where they fall off, they shrivel up and they don't set is caused by the heat. Tomatoes have a hard time setting fruit when it's like really like 90 degrees Fahrenheit, 32 Celsius. Maya ordered a shade cloth, which it just came in yesterday. And I don't know that we'll even get it up this season because we're gonna have to build some sort of structure and all of that. And I don't really know that it's gonna be terribly worth it this season. We may. It just depends on what the next week or two looks like. Potentially, if we had shade cloth, we could keep getting tomatoes because supporting them in the heat is really the biggest struggle for us this time of year. And that would be really, really cool. I mean, we've already harvested a lot of tomatoes, but it would be awesome to keep them. These plants are not like terribly sick or anything. You can absolutely see that I have some deficiency in some of my beds. So like look at this bed versus this bed. Now this one is a week older, but still, that's a pretty different situation. So I'll probably amend this one pretty good before we replant it. Put quite a bit of compost in there. The soil level is kind of low anyway. Isn't that interesting? Sometimes with gardening, I'm just observing. I'm not necessarily looking at everything like a problem. Like even with that, obviously there's some deficiency, but I'm learning. I'll fix it. A lot of people will immediately do soil tests on everything. That definitely saves you some time. For me, a lot of times I just kind of let my plants be the test, and in a situation like that where I'm not seeing a lot of growth and a lot of health, and just be like, okay, well, let me just add some more organic matter and see how that does. Now, if I had a very persistent problem that I couldn't easily troubleshoot with amendment, then I would want to look at a soil test to see exactly what was going on. So this is actually my favorite garden this year. This no dig in-ground space where I allowed the volunteers to just go wild. Again, I have a very popular basil situation going on with the bees. Look how happy they are. We've harvested a whole lot of holy basil, made a whole lot of basil tea, continuing to harvest that. We have some young squash plants coming in, and we're still harvesting squash from various places. I put new squash plants in about every other week, just somewhere. Because I've really yet to, one, find a solid organic way to keep the squash bugs away. You can hand pick them, but when you have a whole lot of plants, it can be extremely tedious. And so for me, the solution is just plant new squash plants every couple weeks. I've harvested them for a few weeks. They succumb to the squash bug, and by that time, the next set of plants is starting to produce. So we've had squash all season. Just since it started coming on in May, we have not been without summer squash. It's just, we've had probably 20 different plants that have died, but that have fed us for a little while. So this is another wave of cowpeas here. Back here, more okra. As I said, we're getting a lot of this right now, of different varieties. Here's a burgundy okra right here. Isn't that lovely? We already harvested this corn, and these are just drying. I kind of thought I would let them dry and cut them for fall decorations because I didn't need the space. So cute fall decorations were worth maybe growing, but we do have some more corn coming up back there. It's not ready to be harvested yet. I'm harvesting a lot of cut flowers. I've got this patch of all these zinnias over here, and this has been my main place to come. I've cut quite a few sunflowers. I've taken bouquets to friends, kept some in the house. These are starting to get this spot, which this is a disease that zinnias get. And from what I understand, once you have it, once it comes in your soil. And I think it can come in on seeds. So I actually don't save and share seeds from my zinnias because I always end up with these spots on them, but they end up volunteering, so it's just here. But they are pretty for a while, and the flowers are still largely pretty. Look at that. Isn't that great? This little area is where we're currently getting a lot of our squash, and it's staying pretty healthy. So my green stalks here have strawberries in them, which the strawberries are starting to put off runners. So they did lots and lots of fruit, and that's pretty well petered out at this point. But I'm actually going to root some runners. I'll show you guys whenever I do that, to get some extra strawberry plants. So I harvested tons of strawberries, and now I'm going to harvest some started strawberry plants so that I can either plant them somewhere else or share them with friends. Right now we are harvesting a ton of peppers. Peppers are in everything that we're eating right now. I'm planning on starting some ferments with peppers this week. Actually, we were going through our storage. I was looking for some of my fermenting stuff because it got put in a box and put away. I still have a few jars, but I need to I want to do a lot. I'm wanting to ferment a lot of hot sauces to be able to bottle and give away. Lots and lots of peppers of all sorts. So right now, I'm out in the high tunnel harvesting peppers fresh at least every day. Sometimes I'm out here twice a day because I'm throwing them in a frittata for breakfast. I'm sauteing some to go with dinner, or we're slicing them up to throw them on a quick salad. We're blistering shishitos, and I haven't even really started pickling a lot of peppers because I still have a lot left over from last year. So we definitely have a ton of peppers. Hey baby!
What's up?
Oh, Maya actually just got home from being out of town last night, taking our kids to go
to the chop house. It was electric.
Say it again.
It was electric. It was electric.
Yeah, what did...
4 home runs. Strider was pitching. Ben was losing his mind about that.
So Ben playing baseball, he's gotten really into wanting to know about baseball, and all the little boys started collecting baseball cards, and Ben was trying to decide who his MLB team was going to be. And
yeah, he initially said the New York Yankees, And then I told him, I was like, well, you know, that's not a bad team. I mean, lots of people like the Yankees. I was like, but if you were a Braves fan, we'd actually get to go to the games because they're only like 3 hours away. He was like, oh, it's a good idea.
And we have some really good friends, the Castos, who live down in Covington, Georgia. And we told them, I was like, well, we have some good friends that are big Braves fans. And I mean, we have no dog in this fight. People are going to be like, why did you? We don't care.
I mean, it was cool to, you know, I've known about the Braves my whole life. But
Ben doesn't lightly get into anything.
No, he's all in.
You've watched this child literally grow up. I think Benjamin was on my hip, like in my very early videos. So I mean, he went from babyhood to being an 8-year-old here on this channel, and he is all in on baseball. So I thought he might cry.
I don't think he cried. They just asked a lot of questions or kept pointing stuff out to me that was obvious, like, look, that's this person, this is what's happening. I was just, you know, letting them soak it in. You know, the cheering and the chants and the songs they all loved.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh, I love a baseball game. I really do. Like, I don't have like a favorite MLB team or anything like that, but baseball was like the sport that I would watch when I was a kid. We used to go to baseball games and stuff like that, so it's pretty exciting.
It's fun. We'll have to go back.
Yeah, I'm not a big sports person, but that's the one I understand, so that's good. Hey, I've learned football since Jackie. So we have another one more high school football season until we see what the little boys do. But
yeah.
Anyway, Maya's home. Good dad.
Thanks.
All right, back to the garden. Regarding what we're harvesting. This week we got our first ripe watermelons. Now this doesn't look like much because this weedy patch is a mess, but there are watermelons all throughout here. They must be harvested in boots because it is very weedy, but there's food out there. And then the big thing that I'm ultra excited about, as I showed you guys on the front porch when I first walked out, is the dried cow peas are starting to come in. Now there are gallons and gallons and gallons and gallons and gallons of peas that are set out here. We're going to be really busy shelling those. We do hand shell our peas. You can buy shellers. And obviously if we were going to be doing any more production than this, we would probably look into getting a sheller. However, it's very cathartic for me, very therapeutic. I like those kind of tasks. I have friends that share in that responsibility. Will calls them meditation peas because it is so meditative to just sit there and do the same task over and over. It's great to have something that keep your hands busy while your mind can be free. My friend Daniel just moved here. Of course, that's something he and I have loved doing, is sitting on the porch shelling peas. I like getting my kids involved. I think it's great. But this is a lot of peas to shell. We'll see how we feel at the end of the season. I think I'll still love it. But I haven't harvested any yet, but this is a Dutch fork pie pumpkin. We have Dutch fork pie pumpkins and we have Seminole pumpkins out here. So a lot of that out throughout this wild and wonderful garden. And that is pretty much it as far as, and I say that's it, that's a lot. That's a lot of food. We are harvesting a lot of food right now. August is a little late for the peak season. For me, historically, of course I was gardening in Arkansas, it felt like our season typically peaked mid-July. Now, this was a very cool spring here. And in South Carolina, it's actually been a pretty cool summer. Like this week, we're not even gonna get up to 90 all week. Now it's right under that. 90 Fahrenheit, 32 Celsius, and that's it. We don't have a single high that exceeds that, and that's crazy for August. I mean, so that's probably why the garden's still going, is because it has not been fried to a crisp yet. That's awesome, you know, for us. That's really great. I know a lot of people are experiencing a very different summer than that, but yeah, we're still getting a lot of food out of our August garden. Again, getting ready to switch over into the fall garden, which will get us a lot more food. So what are you harvesting? Are you still harvesting? I'm sure for a lot of you, at this point, your garden's gone to the weeds and you've let it go, dusted your hands. That's okay, no shame in that game. I support you in the decision. I will encourage you to still look at the fall garden. It's not nearly as hard as the summer. You can get a lot of food. It's very hands-off. But also go through your garden. If it's out there and you've been like, I'm done, it's too hot, it's too weedy, too many pests, don't forsake going. At least once every few days, go take a quick walk through, because there's probably still food out there to be had. And I remember one year, several years ago, before I had YouTube, my mom came over probably around like mid to late August into September, and she was like, Jessie, I saw some peppers out there. And I told her, I was like, I don't know, Mom, I'm done. I'm just done. I'm exhausted. It's over. And she's like, well, let's just go look. And we went out and harvested, I want to say it was like 3 5-gallon buckets of food. Peppers, eggplants, still a few scraggly tomatoes, a handful of little late squash, and I think we had found a pumpkin. Like, we just went out there, and I remember being really humbled by that and coming in, dumping it all out on the table. And I was like, wow, this garden is still producing. Even though I've long since stopped investing, but it's still producing residually off the investment I made when I still had the energy to be invested. So it's okay if you've decided that you've hit your limit, but go check it out and maybe consider that fall garden, because there is still food to be had. So thank you guys for hanging out with me today, brief as it was, and don't forget your t-shirt. God bless you. Until next time.